Communication, it's our way of interacting with our inner and outer world. We say that thoughts create things, and that's true, but what gives thoughts a voice is communication. At this week's workshop, we learned how to communicate with plants, and we spent time in commune, communicating with that plant. Just a couple decades ago, if you talked to a dog, you were thought of as crazy. You don't talk to a dog, that's just an animal. Now, our dogs and cats are often considered part of the family. It would be silly not to talk to them. We've heard for years that if you talk to your plants are going to grow better and grow stronger. And we know this. And it's still weaving its way into existence, where people give themselves permission, where they say it's okay for me to talk to my plant. The same way that just a few years ago, we had to give ourselves permission to talk to our animals. Now, just like in the skit, we often think that, and it almost doesn't make sense, because we know that God is with us all day, every day. We know that our guides are with us all day, every day. But somehow we think that they only communicate with us when we make the time to communicate with them. When I sit down to pray, that's when God will talk to me. When I sit down to meditate, that's when my guide will talk to me. But just like in the skit, how silly is it to think that they're with us all day, every day, just idly waiting for us to make the time to communicate with them. They communicate with us whether we've set the time aside or not, because they love us and they care about us. They communicate through things like our intuition, our inner knowing, our I don't know why I thought that, but I thought that. I don't know why I'm feeling drawn to do this, but I need to do this. This is the active communication of God and your guides each and every day. Now, just like in the skit, we all have our own inner voice. We all have it. Whether you acknowledge it, whether you admit it, whether you hide from it, whether you embrace it as your best friend. We've heard the saying that we are all our best friend and we're all our worst enemy. This is true. But, just like the lady in the skit, it's not powerless, waiting for the inner voice to say whatever the inner voice wants to say. And most of the time, what the inner voice has to say isn't actually your own thoughts. When you hear yourself telling yourself something, when you hear your inner voice talking to you, whose voice is it? It's often your own voice. You can hear it as your own voice. But whose words are they? Maybe a parent, maybe a spouse, maybe an ex, something, girlfriend, boyfriend, friend, whatever. It's often someone else's words. Someone else's words, old tapes. And we have the power to say, no, I'm not going to allow you to talk to me that way. And I'm going to encourage you to talk to me this way. If I could be my inner voice, if I can have my own best friend, or I can have my own worst enemy, who would you rather be locked in a room with? Well, the room is your mind. Who do you choose to lock yourself in the room with inside of your own mind? Someone who builds you up, or someone who tears you down? You have the ability to choose. Now, throughout human history, the only way that communication happened was this. Hi. Face-to-face, in-person communication was all we had for the majority of our entire human history. Somewhere along the line, we developed hieroglyphs, and we would draw pictures on the wall, and we would draw these things, and we would chisel them into stone and columns. And then we could communicate with these other things. And we could travel for miles and miles and miles just to look at a wall with a painting, or just to look at a pyramid with a hieroglyph. And we would communicate through something that was written. But even that hasn't been going on all that long. Now, we look at books, we can communicate with an author that we've never met. Dating back to the 1500s, 1501, when the Gutenberg Bible was printed, the very first book that was ever mass-produced, made it to where suddenly you could communicate with the author. You could communicate with the book. Well, where are we at today, folks? We are in the information age. The information age. Right now, information is more valuable to most people than gold. The right information at the right time can literally make fortunes throughout the day. It can also lose fortunes. Having the wrong information at the wrong time and acting on it can cost you your whole life savings, or it can make you a fortune. Having the right information at the right time can greatly enhance your relationship. Having the wrong information can tear it down. We've all seen the spy novels that the information was more important than the secret agent's life. But the knowledge, the information was more important than lives, than money, than gold. And where are we at right now? We have more access to more communication, to more information than ever before in human history. It starts with www. And type in whatever you want. You can learn anything that you want. All of the information in the world is at your fingertips if you take the time to search for it. Before, if you wanted to learn something, you had to go apprentice under somebody. If I want to be a contractor, then I'm going to go work for a contractor. I'm going to say, okay, boss, teach me the ropes. What do I do? I start with all the jobs that you really don't want to do. And at some point, when I've done enough of that, you'll teach me a few things. And a few years later, you'll teach me a few things. And a few years later, you'll teach me a few things. And at some point, you'll hire somebody else to do all the grunt work that I don't have to do anymore because now I have more knowledge. And eventually, I will go from apprentice to journeyman to master, and then I will be able to do it for myself. This is how it used to be. The other way it used to be was I would go to school. If I want to learn how to do something, I'd go to school. Because how else are you going to learn it unless somebody's teaching it to you? Now we can get the equivalent of a PhD education for $1.50 at the library card. For whatever your monthly hookup fee is at www. We can pick up one of these and have our voice anywhere on the planet in milliseconds. And now it's not just a phone. We can type www right onto this. Be on the World Wide Web. What do you want to know? Here's a question. Here's the answer. There's an app for that. Right? We can communicate on a scale that is unprecedented. You can type something on the internet and have it read by millions of people in every country in the world almost simultaneously. We've watched people create a YouTube video and become Justin Bieber, become an international multi-million record-selling feller just from a YouTube video that went viral and people went, wow, who is this kid? Now here's the challenge. Because we've made it so convenient to be in our bubble, in our little world, the communications that we've learned, that we've had for generations, the hey, how you doing, has become kind of foreign to most of us. It used to be if you want to make a living, you have to go to work. Now a lot of folks work from home. Anything that you want can be delivered. You may know your FedEx man or your UPS man or your postman by name, because the whole world gets delivered right to your door. Inside of this world of amazing communication, we feel like we have the power. If this thing rings, and it's not a convenient time for me to talk, or I'm talking with somebody else, or maybe we fought yesterday and I haven't cooled off yet, or whatever the thing is, we do what? Voicemail. I'll get to you later. Right? We have made this thing called email, so we can communicate at 3 o'clock in the morning and nobody knows and nobody cares. This thing to enhance our communication, to streamline our relationships and our business. Now we find we spend more time with our email than we do with people. And our inbox fills up rapidly. So then we said, well, that's no fun. Let's create fun things. We made Facebook. We made MySpace. We made all these social networking sites so that we could stay in touch with those we love, so that we can communicate in an instant. Because the entire world probably needs to know that I had grilled cheese for lunch. We can tweet it, and everyone will know. People people in other states and other countries will suddenly be privy to that information. And we find what? We find that we are missing communication in our life, in our daily life, of friends who just stop by, or family that we say, let's go to lunch, or a buddy that we swing by their house and say, dude, I was just thinking about you, what y'all up to? 20 years ago, how many people used to do that? You think about a friend, you swing by their house. You think about a family member, you show up. What's going on? You haven't seen any person in a while, what'd you do? Hey man, let's go for a bike ride, let's go to the beach, let's go here, let's go there, come on, let's hang out. Why don't we do that so much anymore? Because there's not a little red box in the corner that if you start to say something I don't like, I can't go click. Close that window. I have to wade my way through it. And as we saw in the skit, I may not give myself the power to do that because you have the ability to say whatever you want to say, positive or negative. And no matter what the circumstance or the situation in your life is, I've just got to deal with it when I'm in person. On the internet, I've got to do that. I go, oh yeah, I read your post. No, I haven't had time to get to that email yet that I read, and I really don't know how to answer. I can buy myself all the time I want, and in fact, when I reply to you, I can reply 18 different times without ever hitting send to make sure that I send the exact perfect response that I want to. And in person, I'm on the spot. And you might see me, and you might see my face and my voice, and and I don't want to talk about that just now, but I don't have the, let me go formulate a few responses and I'll be right back. I don't have that ability, right? But I do have the ability to say, I love you. When we look at communication we think about is the words. And in the internet, it is the words. And even to an extent, for the cell phone, it was the word. And what we realized? That was spooky because then we were accountable to the words. So what do we do? Texting. So in most of our communication right now, it happens through a word, through a typed or spoken word. But when you talk to folks who are communication experts, they will tell you that only 10% of what's communicated is actually through the words we choose. It's through the voice inflection. It's through the tone. It's through the volume. It's through our body language, our facial expression. And all of those things, we have a certain level of anonymity when we hide behind a keyboard, whether that's at a computer or on a phone, to communicate. How many people have ever had a miscommunication come through a text message or an email? That I thought you said this, I didn't say that at all. Exactly, because we don't have that voice inflection, that body language, that facial expression of being one-on-one, being in person.
Like if someone tells a joke, you get it.
Yeah, or how different is this? I love you, honey. Yeah, I love you too. Same words, right? Or how about, shut up. Shut up. Right? How different is that? How different are those feelings that come with those words? Well, this thing doesn't know the difference. Unless you put a smiley face or a sad face behind it, nobody even has a clue if you're trying to be funny unless you type LOL. I am really interested in what you have to say. Really? Yeah. Dude, I'm really interested in what you have to say. Tell me about it. I've been wanting to learn more about that. I've been researching it online and I think I know part of it, but it's your field of expertise. You've worked in that field for a lot of years. Tell me about that. Let me have the benefit of your experience. I want to know you in a way that I can't know you through a text message. That I can't know you through an email. That I can't know you through my voicemail or your voicemail. Right? What's really going on inside of you right now besides, yeah, I'm good, how are you? When somebody says, how you doing? You got two choices. Socially acceptable or lie. Right? I'm good. Well, if you really want to know, I've got blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Oh. Right? Communication is about communing. Communing is about experiencing. It's about experiencing. Experiencing boundaries of love. When someone comes into your world and makes you not feel good, to say, no, there's the line in the sand. As the person in the skit, I will not be talked to that way. Or, using humor, you must have me confused with someone you can talk to that way. If there is a piece of God inside of me, my soul, if God, okay, who saw the billboards? Who knew that yesterday was the rapture? Right? 6 o'clock p.m., Jesus was supposed to show up and people were going to start floating. And if you didn't float, you were kind of screwed until October, and then it was all going to explode anyway. Well, let's just say that last night did happen the way that the guy said. And let's just say that Jesus, my tall hippie friend, was right here on stage. And now let's say that this tall hippie guy said, Scott, I dig you so much, I want to come live inside you. I went right in here, right? I believe this is where my part of Jesus lives. This is where my part of God lives. At the same time, I believe that that same God lives inside of you. That same Christ energy lives inside of you. And you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you. Right? We all have that piece of God inside of us. Now, if God were standing behind me, and you were talking negatively to God, you don't talk to God that way. Got your back. Right? What is so different with the piece of God that's inside us? It's not ego when we say, that hurts my spirit when you say that. When you see a mother talk to a child and say, use your words, how does that make you feel? And if something makes you feel bad, slamming your finger in the door. Anybody done it?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody just leave their hand in there and do it a few more times?
Oh,
Just for
I think
grins?
so.
Right? No, we don't, because mentally we go, wow, that hurts, that sucks, don't do it. But internally, with communication, with conversations, we can say, every time I talk to this person, I get my feelings hurt and it sucks. So I'll put my fingers in the door and go ahead and hand you the doorknob, go ahead. We don't have to do that. Nor do we have to not like the person. First, we can empower ourselves by taking our fingers out of the door jamb. Next, we can say, please don't slam the door. Right? If you got a dog that growls at you, you don't put the dog down, you teach the dog. Don't do that. Oh, good boy, here's a treat. Bad boy, here's a kennel. It doesn't take very long through consistency before our communication with that dog has changed dramatically. And here's a little technique that works really, really well. First, communication is a two-way street. Two-way. It's one part what I'm saying, it's one part what you are hearing. How many times have we had a conversation with someone and said, well, you said blah, 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 blah. You heard me say that. I didn't say that. I said dot, 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 dot. Right? It's a two-way street. What we say and what they hear. And it's a very empowering technique to say, what I heard you say was dot, dot, dot. Oh, well, that wasn't what I meant at all. Cool. So, with today, I feel like looking at communication, looking at how we interact with our world around us, looking at all of these things stems from a simple understanding that we have a piece of God inside of us, we have a spirit, we have a soul. In the Eastern traditions, they say namaste, which is the spirit in me, the spark of God in me, recognizes and honors the spark of God in you. But if we have a spark of God inside of us, then we deserve to be treated nicely, to be communicated with nicely. And by the same token, we deserve to give other people that same respect because they have a piece of God inside of them. And to honor it and communicate as such. And next, you are empowered with that voice inside your head to train it the same way you would train the dog with, here is the treat because you're doing what I want, and here is the timeout because you're not. As we change and modify this internal talk, it automatically changes all of our external talk. Because when in here isn't beating me up, when in here is lifting me up, then out here wants to lift you up too, and wants to welcome you lifting me up also. Communication is how we interact with our world, with ourselves, and with our spirit. And with these things, I implore you to look at the things in your life this week that bring you joy, that you commune with, whether it's communing with nature, communing with the ocean, communing with an animal, communing with a friend, with God, or with yourself. And if you like how it feels, encourage it and do more of it. And if something shows up that makes you not feel so good, whether it's a communication you're having with yourself, another person, God, an animal, nature, whatever it is, I ask you to set those boundaries of love. To set those boundaries of love and see how it changes your world in a very fast and dramatic and powerful fashion. Thank you. Oh, one last thing. Mary just reminded me. When you have communication issues, right, like when sometimes you can't find the words that you're trying to find, the throat chakra, of course, is where the center of our communication stuff. How many folks are aware that the planet, from an astrology standpoint, the planet Mercury affects communication? And so when Mercury goes retrograde, then communication goes just spinning right off the world, right? Now, inside of palmistry, this finger right here, this is your Mercury finger. This finger represents the planet Mercury. And so if you're having a challenge communicating, this is a true story, folks. You can touch this finger to this finger, almost like you make a Boy Scout symbol, but you touch this finger, and what it does is it activates the Mercury planet energy, or the communication energy, which actually changes the biochemistry of your mind and opens up your communication centers inside of your physical mind. And nobody's even got to know you're doing it. You can do it in your pocket, you can do it under the table, you can do it whatever, but if you're trying to communicate with somebody and it's just not flowing out the way you wanted it to, I implore you to utilize your Mercury finger to activate that center of communication and see how much easier that flows with you. And also, I'm sure that it's here somewhere, we've got the giving gift today is Sodalite. And Sodalite works to open up the throat chakra, open up that communication, so that whatever you're thinking flows out easy. Whatever is in your heart, whatever you're feeling, flows out easy. We're all about good and getting better, and this is going to help your communication get better with yourself, with everyone else, and with God. Thank you.
Scott's already spilled the beans. Our giving gift is Sodalite. So you can either put it in your water, carry it in your pocket.
The stone of Sodalite, you can either carry it in your pocket, put it in water, put it next to your bed as you're sleeping. Lots of different things with stone. So we'll just pass that around. And take your pick. Whatever one jumps out at you, you feel most connected with.
Magic penny, hold it tight and you won't have any. Lend it, spend it, and you'll have so many to roll all over the floor. Love is something if you give it away, give it away, give it away. Love is something if you give it away, you end up having more.
And giving and receiving is a two-way door. So this morning, as you take your gift in your hand, I'll have you join with us in the prosperity prayer. Divine Spirit, bless these gifts. I welcome abundance in my life. Bless and multiply all that I'm able to give and all that I'm willing to receive. And with that prayer, as you hold your gift in your hand, feel the energy of abundance flow to you. Feel that gift that you're giving multiplied 10 times.
Give it away. Love is something if you give it away, you'll end up having more. It's just like a magic penny. Hold it tight and you won't have any. Lend it, spend it, and you'll have so many. They'll roll all over the floor.
We'll continue on with our closing song. It's Let's Talk About Love. And I found this song, and it was kind of a kid's song when I heard it. there's two different versions out there, but the words really radiate kind of the message of the day, summing them up. So as you listen to the word, as you listen to the song, follow the words and really see what they're trying to say.
Sometimes I wonder what I'll be when I grow up, and then I remember it was everything I dreamed of. I can be a ballerina, or I can be a scientist. But before I make that decision, let's talk about my lips. Let's talk about love. Talk about peace. We're living in perfect harmony. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about ways that we can change. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about me. Let's talk about how we can be one big family. Let's talk about love. Let's talk about love. Sometimes I feel like my teddy bears can't talk. They tell me all their secrets and everything they want. They won't ask us to go closer and to hold each other's hands and be kind to one another and always understand. It's all about love, it's all about peace. We're living in perfect harmony. It's all about us, it's all about ways that we can change. It's all about you, it's all about me. It's all about how we can be one big family. It's all about love. Everybody has a heart. Everybody has a side. It's best to move over up each one and give it away once in a while. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about me. Let's talk about how we can be one big family. Let's talk about love. Let's talk about peace and living in perfect harmony. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about ways that we can change. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about me. Let's talk about how we can be one big family. Let's talk about love. Let's talk about peace. Let's talk about
I'll have everybody come and join us for our closing prayer.
Help me remember who I am, why I am. Help me to trust in the master plan. When I think that I can't, remind me I can. Help me remember who I am. Hit it again.
Let's have a closing prayer. Dear God, thank you for today. Thank you for this group of folks who chose to share this section of their spiritual journey together. We ask your presence in our week to be even more powerful, more profound, and more clear, more evident today and this week and this month, for the rest of our lives than it would have been had we chosen to not be here today. We ask your blessing in our communications, that we can see and respect that piece of you inside of us and that piece of you inside of everyone else. You would help us be kinder and gentler with ourselves, more positive, more uplifting, encouraging, inspiring, and upbeat, can do, can be, can enjoy, can dream. And that would be so much of that inside of us, God, that it would overflow into everyone that we come in contact with. May I ask your blessing, and it is so.